Hello, and welcome to TV Dinner, the podcast where we take 3 bites out of a show and tell you how it tastes. I'm your host, Kalena.
And I'm your co-host, Sean.
And this week we are going to be talking about Scream Queens. Now, Before we get started, I'm going to part the curtain and tell you that we already recorded this part of the show forever ago and lost it, because Audacity is great.
Mistakes were made. Human error.
It's fine. So the later part of the episode was actually recorded before this part, but we're going to try to put ourselves out of the mindset of having already watched it and talk about it as we remember feeling before we knew too much about it.
Yeah. So the important part of the episode is intact.
Yeah. So before we watched the first 3 episodes, I thought I watched more than that. I thought I had watched like 6 episodes, but I only watched 2.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
So I guess it just felt super long to me, which is kind of telling of how I felt about the show as a whole.
Yeah.
As far as I know, you didn't know pretty much anything about it, right?
I didn't know diddly about it other than that it was some kind of horror psycho killer thing. Because I had only been prompted that it was similar to the show that we had seen on Netflix, Scream.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I don't know which one came out first. I think it was Scream. But they're both TV show parodies of, parody in Scream Queens more than in Scream. They're both parodies of the movie Scream.
They're both, they both take inspiration. Yeah,
so the show Scream is probably a lot more like the movie. Like, they have the actual masked guy and a lot of similar scenes and a similar tone. It's a lot creepier.
It's an actual reboot and not like a pastiche.
Yeah.
I don't know if that word applies in this scenario, to be honest.
We'll figure it out later.
But it's not like dancing around its references in a way that makes it like, you can't sue us.
But yeah, even in the first episode of Scream Queens, it was very, very, like, satirical parody, so really silly, very, just not very tonally different. It didn't take itself as seriously as Scream does, which is good if you don't actually like horror, but I do.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting that going into it.
Were you expecting something closer to Scream?
Yeah, I think we talk about in the second half of the episode how my first realization was that, oh, this is the show that meme is from.
Oh,
that old meme.
Surprise. Bet you thought you'd seen the last of me.
Yeah, exactly. So I really wasn't expecting anything out of it other than for it to be bad, because you had kind of prepped me beforehand, but just like, okay, it's like Scream, but it's bad. But like maybe it'll be bad in a funny way. Like
I don't know if I said the word bad, but I definitely said that I didn't like it.
Oh yeah. I don't remember. You didn't like unequivocally write it off. You weren't sure if I was going to like it or not.
Yeah. Because we have different tastes in horror stuff. Like I said, I like the more serious, like actual horror, and you're not quite so much on that boat.
No, it's not really my thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you were right to wonder if I would like this or not, but no, you have learned things about me.
The first 2 episodes that I had watched didn't really draw me in to watch the rest, so that's why I didn't really. But like I said, I wanted to bring this up to you to see if maybe you had different opinions.
You were curious what my reaction to it would be.
Yeah. I definitely knew that there were parts that you were also going to dislike.
Mm-hmm.
because it's a weird show. But it's obviously popular. I mean, I think it's getting a third season now.
Weird. There are definitely parts of it that are genuinely funny, though, but I would have to, like, really turn off my brain to actually watch this thing anymore.
And now we're getting into the second part of the episode.
Yeah, that's a bit telling, so...
Yeah, so it's time to stop and pretend like we haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And pretend like we're gonna go watch it now and talk about it later.
Yeah, let's definitely attempt to actually pretend that that's what we're going to do, and not just say that we're pretending a lot.
Why not?
That's how you do that.
Okay, so the next part of the episode is usually the part where we watch the first three episodes of this series, and then after that we talk about it. So...
Yeah. When we come back, it'll actually be versions of us in the past, and we'll hear them, and we'll get that little nostalgic pang for who we used to be.
A month ago.
Yeah, a month ago.
And, well, also, those people have better first impressions because they had just seen it, like, a day before they talked about it.
Yeah. So, yeah, let's move on to the part of this podcast that'll be good.
Alright, see you there.
That sure was an interesting meal we just had.
Yeah, how did you feel about it?
My feelings on it are mixed.
Mixed?
Yeah, like it's still mostly bad, but I enjoyed a little bit of it.
I'm actually surprised that you didn't hate it all.
I mean, it's still, like, sometimes it's like comedy potential shines through.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it doesn't often live up to that potential, sometimes it genuinely has fun with what it's doing and the genre, you know?
Yeah, like I said earlier, the show is basically a parody of Scream. And a lot of it is very bad parody, but then some of it ends up being good.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're the type of person that likes, like, really ridiculous movies and shows, then you might like it.
Mm.
But I just kind of, like, I don't know. I don't find them that fun anymore. I guess, I mean, like, when I was, like, a shitty middle schooler, I probably would have loved it.
So it's too juvenile for you now?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to sound like, ho, I am so elite, but, you know, it's just, like, that kind of humor, that kind of, like, Family Guy humor.
Oh, yeah, this is some grade A Family Guy shit right here.
Family Guy funny moments.
Oh, some funnies. Yeah, I don't know. It's crude in a way that's not fun.
Yeah, I think the crudeness is supposed to highlight the characters that you're not supposed to like, which is all of them, I guess.
I don't know.
And it's supposed to be like, oh, this is how you know this is a character you don't like, because they're very, very bad, and they're very annoying. But then that just makes the whole show annoying.
Yeah, I feel like...
they can be crude in other ways.
Yeah, I feel like even a comedy should have some depth and, like, something you can root for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't, like... It's kind of hard to find the story, I guess, outside of, like, the funny jokes and the unfunny jokes.
Well, the story is the mystery, right?
Yeah, I guess. But then they have, you know, outside of the mystery, like, what's going on?
Hmm.
Okay, so
Well, it's
The dean wants to get the sorority shut down, so that's a thing.
I forgot that she wanted that.
Yeah.
Because her whole character got derailed by wanting to bone Grace's dad.
Yeah. All of the scenes with her character and Grace's dad are, like, really uncomfortable, and I hate watching them.
Yeah. But
I think it's supposed to be like this lady's hitting on a dude, and that's a subversion, I guess. But it's really uncomfortable to watch.
Mm.
One thing I did like, I want to say,
yeah,
is a lot of horror stuff kind of saves some big reveals for later in the series.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the reveal that there is more than one killer happens in episode 2, which is kind of really nice.
Yeah.
In a way.
It keeps you guessing.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, obviously there are 2 killers, so then
right.
whatever. But, like, they normally save that for the end of the movie or the end of whatever.
They're, like, at least aware enough to know that they should go ahead and tip their hand on the stuff everybody's guessing anyways, and then...
Yeah.
So
and it being a parody, it's kind of nice that they actually do turn some of the tropes on their heads, and not just, like a shitty sort of satirizing everything, but they actually do something with that.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite character?
My favorite character... I like Chanel number 3.
Which one is that? Because it's hard to tell when they're numbered.
The one with the earmuffs.
Ah, earmuff girl.
She doesn't really get much character, at least in the first 3 episodes, but she's funny in, like, an understated way. She's not over the top like literally every other character.
Mm.
She's more subtle.
So you like her because the show cares about her less.
I guess that's one way to put it.
Well, it's all a chain reaction, sort of. What do you think about her bonding with I can't remember this character's real name because
they're rude.
Yeah, and because they dub her with the nickname Predatory Les.
Yeah, I actually don't know if that character has a name because they never say it.
Yeah.
Like I said when we were watching it, I think it would be nice if the 2 characters actually got into, like, an established relationship, but I think the show is just gonna have fun with baiting it.
Right.
Because it's like, oh, this girl is acting, like, super into the lesbian character, but she's not actually into her, she's just a weirdo, I guess.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of what they were doing with Boone.
Yeah, they were kind of doing that, in the opposite direction, I guess. Where it's like, oh, you think this guy is just a weirdo, but no, he actually is gay.
Although, I mean, with Boone, they're bothering to take the risk of, revealing that he's one of the killers early on.
Mm-hmm.
Although that does sideline his character.
Yeah, but I am, I mean, it's everything revealed in the first 3 episodes is fair game, so... I mean, it's revealed in the second episode that he's one of the killers. Which, again, is an interesting thing for a horror show to kind of show in the first 2 episodes.
Yeah. Do you have a least favorite character?
It's so hard to choose.
Do you genuinely hate most characters?
I genuinely hate the writing that most characters receive.
Yeah, but that's different than hating a character.
I mean, the characters themselves are alright, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't like Chanel, obviously, but she's written to be unlikable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
There's something kind of fun about horrible people, though, when they're not real.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, other than the, like, terribly written part, I don't think I straight up dislike any of the characters. I would say that Chad would be my least favorite character. I think his name is Chad.
Chad Radwell.
Yeah. I would say that he's my least favorite character because he's the most dickish. But he's the only one who's, like, dickish writing is funny at all, actually.
Yeah, I was actually going to say he's my favorite of the cast.
Yeah.
Just because he's so bad.
Yeah, he's written as a really terrible person, but they actually do it in a funny way and not in an obnoxious way.
Mm-hmm.
They write him like a dumb frat boy.
Yeah.
That, like, mansplains everything or whatever, and it's kind of fun, and every other character is just racist.
Right. I really liked his, like, super early scene. It might have been his introduction or not. The one with the dean.
Yeah, is that him in that?
Oh, it is absolutely him in her bed.
Okay. Yeah, but I like that scene mostly because of when he's like, I love you, and she's like, that's depressing, please leave.
That's why I like that scene.
That is a good scene.
Yeah.
Another scene that I like is when the Chanels are going to do, like, the blood oath to keep themselves safe or whatever.
And they keep bickering about it.
They keep fighting about it, and it's, like, really ridiculous, and I like that a lot because that's a scene that in most other things would be taken super seriously, but it's hard to take seriously when it's so ridiculous, so they don't even try.
We keep talking about stuff we like about this show after introing this with how much we hate it.
Yeah, but like you said, it's kind of a mixed bag. Like, every show, well, I'm not going to say every show, but most shows have a good and a bad in them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just talking about how we hate it is not fair.
Yeah. Also, it's not fun.
No, I like talking about the good scenes.
Yeah, like the scene with the baseball bats.
Yeah, when, it's so funny because there's, like, all of these, like, basically high frat boys, and they're like, oh, we're gonna beat up the Red Devil because we've got numbers or whatever, and then they just come out with chainsaws and kill everybody. Yeah,
both of them. And Backstreet Boys is playing the whole time.
Yeah. You said that was a weird song choice, but I liked it a lot.
At first, I thought it was a weird sound just when, like, it first showed up and they were just wandering the streets. But
and
after
they were just, like, beating up a fire hydrant.
Right, but after the Red Devils actually showed up and the music kept playing throughout the battle scene, that's when, like, the song choice paid off, and, like, I could understand why they did that.
Yeah. I always, in every horror thing that I always like it when the bad guy gets realistically beaten up. There's, like, one or two scenes in the show where that happens. It's not super often, but it's always really fun to me because it's like, in a real situation, the person wouldn't just flail helplessly. They would fight back or run away. And it's nice to see when characters do that.
What do you think? I think the reason that Ariana Grande, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Grande. Okay. I thought I was like 50-50 on if I was going to pronounce it that way or ignore the E. I'm not very good with celebrities.
It's cool. What about her?
I guess it just has to do with, like, they're super famous, so they have low availability is why she got killed off in episode 1 and why he... Or was it episode 2?
Well, I think it was episode 1, actually.
She got killed off early on, and Nick Jonas he faked his death so he doesn't have to be on set for the Red Devils.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's his character as the Red Devil, they can just put a rando in the costume. Speaking of Ariana Grande, I really like the scene that is, it's parodying the opening scene to the Scream movie, the 90s Scream movie. where she's like flirting with the dude over the phone that she doesn't know.
Oh, yeah.
But she's like texting him and they're standing right in front of each other.
Yeah, and they keep having like, they have like a whole funny conversation before the murder happens.
Yeah, that's another like actual subversion of the original movie that I enjoy.
That's like an actually good parody. You were saying that this show would be good if it was just like half as long.
Yeah, there are a lot of scenes that go on for way too long, and I know you agree with me.
Mm-hmm.
Because like the one scene with actually pretty much all of Jamie Lee Curtis's scenes. I don't remember if it's Jamie Lee Curtis or Jamie Lynn Curtis. That sounds wrong. The second one. I'm gonna go with Jamie Lee Curtis. All of her scenes are half good and half bad, and if they would just take out the half bad parts.
Yeah. It helps that Jamie Lee Curtis has charisma and like is a good actor, but the writing is bad.
I mean, no, she's definitely throwing herself into the role, and
she's all the way.
Yeah, she's doing a good job at it. It's just the writing always is weird for half of her scenes, because it's always like, oh, she's unlikable and annoying, or the other half of the scene is she's unlikable but in a fun way.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that any of the actors are bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I would say the writing is bad, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Although, I mean, it's not the hardest thing in the world to ham it up. It's really fun to do that and cut loose as an actor. Yeah,
but I would say that there are definitely actors that would have trouble with being kind of so ridiculous, like in the way that all the actors in the show are.
That's true. It's
because there's definitely media where people prefer to be understated or prefer to be more realistic.
I think that if there's a character that I dislike the most, it's Candle Vlogger.
She also doesn't have much character at all.
Yeah, and she's basically just a background character, and like none of her jokes are funny.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be funny because her whole personality is the candle girl, I guess, and that's supposed to be the joke, but it's not.
Yeah, it's not a funny joke though. The joke is that, oh boy, girls sure do like candles.
Yeah, the joke is that this one girl is super obsessed with candles, and that's it. That's the joke.
Yeah. Like, okay, whatever.
Honestly, I didn't even think about her when you asked me about my least favorite characters. She's just like, when you asked me about my favorite and least favorite characters.
Yeah, because she's a nothing.
She didn't even come to my mind.
That's because everybody else you have mixed feelings for. That's why I would call her, the least likable, because she's got nothing.
Well, because everyone else is at least
maybe she's the killer.
A little bit likable. I mean, who knows?
They
haven't given her much attention
yet.
Well, speaking of who knows, do you have any speculation? We haven't. I'm going to preface this by saying we haven't looked at spoilers. We haven't seen the rest of the season past episode 3. We're literally just gonna guess at what happens.
I hate guessing who the killer is. I really didn't like doing it in Scream.
Yeah, Scream did a good job at making it really difficult. But it was a little bit annoying in season 2 for Scream.
That's because there was a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into it, but it was a little bit bullshit.
I was pretty unhappy.
So I'm going to start by saying, like, the people that they are throwing, the people that they are making look suspicious are usually not the killers. Mm-hmm. So, like, the dean, literally at the end of season 3, they accuse her of being the killer, and she hates Kappa House and is a super weirdo or whatever. Did you
just say season 3?
I meant episode 3 if I did.
Yeah.
There's not a season 3 yet.
Yet.
I mean, I don't know. I don't follow it. I just know there's only 2 seasons. So they throw a lot of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but they
Suspicion?
Yes, they throw a lot of suspicion onto her character. They,
But I feel like because of the ending of episode 3, it absolutely can't be her.
Yeah, I don't think it's her. Again, because they put suspicion on her, it's usually just supposed to... It's usually a fake out, but... the show is supposed to be a parody, so the fake outs could be the real ones, you know?
Yeah, and I just realized that it can't be Chad because both devils attacked him and his crew.
Yeah, it can't be anybody else in the frat.
Also because he's too dumb.
Yeah, no, he's definitely too dumb to do it. Even though they also blame him.
Grace suspects him.
Yeah, Grace suspects him. Grace suspected the other guy, I think his name is Pete.
Yeah, Pete. Poor Pete.
Who was obviously not it, because he's one of the
maybe Pete's my least favorite character.
Why?
He's just so annoying and gross, and he has no redeeming value.
I think he's the most realistic of all... Well, no, I did say the dad's probably the most realistic of all the characters.
Yeah, Pete is just like a really gross, poorly written love interest who occasionally shows up just to keep the plot moving. He's basically a plot device and not a person.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's kind of a plot device because he kind of helps Grace along in her investigation.
Mm-hmm. He's also super suspicious.
Yeah. It could be Chanel, although I really doubt it because...
It can't be Chanel.
I know, but they make a point of making her suspicious in the very first episode.
I mean, she does kill the maid.
She does definitely kill the maid. That one is her fault.
Yeah, she does absolutely murder a person by herself.
So she is a murderer, but she's not the murderer.
Maybe she is the killer.
Well, there you go.
Because, it can't be anyone else.
I mean, Chanel number 2 died right after they had a fight.
Mm-hmm. And all I can think about is that I bet you thought you saw the last of me, Jeff.
Oh, yeah. That meme.
Yeah, as soon as I realized that this show was where that meme was from, I was suddenly way more interested in watching it.
I assumed that GIF came from... I assumed... I mean, so you're assuming that it's she's the killer. I assume that it's well, I guess if she dies and then comes back, it makes more sense that she's the killer.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be. But she seems I don't know.
I think that it could just as easily not be her.
Yeah, there could be another explanation for it.
But I think she's a solid candidate.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because her character seems to be concerned mostly with other stuff entirely.
Yeah, they put a little bit, not much, of suspicion on Grace's dad.
Mm-hmm. But I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But he's like we said, he's
got motive.
He's got a thing against Kappa House, and he had that really weird thing about horror movies. That's always the character in horror movies that loves horror movies is probably a killer. Yeah.
Well, what's that thing from Scream, from the first episode, where it's you don't watch the show just for the twist or whatever, you watch it for the characters, you have to care about the small town problems.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just
do you care about the small town problems?
Not even a little. I only care about the mystery, I guess. Which I guess is why I don't like the show. And why I just want to look up the answers instead of watching it.
Are there any other predictions you have about the show? Oh, we never did predict who we think is the other killer.
Well, it's Boone.
No, Boone and who?
Boone
narrow
and
it down to
Chanel.
one. Boone and Chanel? Those are your guesses?
I think so.
I actually, accidentally scrolled down into the comments of a thing, but it wasn't, a spoiler, it was more of a speculation.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was from episode 1, and they said Grace.
Who's Grace again?
Grace is the main character technically, but she's like not much in the show.
I had a brain fart there. It doesn't make any sense that it would be Grace. That would be just like Heavy Rain.
Yeah, it would be kind of bullshit if it was Grace because
then it's the detective trying to...
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Every part of the show that focuses on her is her trying to uncover the mystery.
Right, and if this show pulled that bullshit where it's like, haha, the detective trying to solve the murder was actually just collecting the evidence to burn it all along.
Oh, like, fucking Now You See Me?
Now You See
The
Me?
first one?
The first
You
one?
ever saw...
We saw that movie together. It's just, I was surprised that you brought up that movie.
Well, that's the movie that I can think of where it's like, it's literally like, the whole movie, you're seeing things from the detective's perspective, and he's always like super perplexed about what's happening, and he's trying to figure out this mystery, and then at the end, you realize that he's been the one orchestrating the mystery, and it's kind of bullshit.
It is kind of bullshit, but like... I don't know. I felt like I understood it in that case as him being, like, inside keeping tabs on things.
I don't know.
He was keeping tabs on the investigation to make sure they wouldn't catch him. Like, it makes less sense when you're a vigilante investigator than it does when you've got a job.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, knowing that there are 2 seasons, do you think that they're going to reveal who the second killer is at the end of this season?
I think so. I'm gonna guess yes.
You're gonna guess yes, and guess that they...
I can't imagine you ending the first season on a cliffhanger where you don't know who the killer is.
Yeah.
Because why would you write that?
Well, and not every show... Actually, most shows are kind of wary in their first season that they're probably not going to get a second one.
Well, Scream ended with us not knowing who the accomplice was, sort of.
Yeah, but they did give us the killer. And I think the accomplice is more of like a hook for gaining a second season.
I mean, although, I don't know. I mean, they ended season 1 in an ambiguous place.
A lot of shows will do their first season as like a thing, and they'll leave open bits, but they'll have like that as one whole thing in case they don't get a second season. Which is kind of, I'm not going to go too into it, and it's not next week's show either, but there's a show that I want to make you watch where it didn't get a second season, and the first season has a lot of open ends. That's kind of upsetting.
Oh, what show do you want me to watch?
It's called Almost Human.
Oh.
Yeah, you know, I've tried to get you to watch it before.
I think I watched the first episode.
Did you?
I think I did, but I don't remember it.
Yeah, I like the show a lot. I wish it got a second season. Partly because the first season has so many open ends.
Tragic.
Tragic. Do you have any final thoughts on Scream Queens?
Not really.
No, that's it.
Yeah, I think
Would you recommend this show to somebody?
If I thought they had bad taste.
So you would recommend this show to Kayla?
Yeah, I absolutely would recommend it to Kayla.
Yeah. Not that the listeners know who Kayla is, but that is our resident person with bad taste.
I'm sorry, is that too mean?
No, in media, not in like anything else. She's like incredible fashion and stuff, but she likes Suicide Squad, so...
I mean, everyone's entitled to her opinion. She just consistently chooses to like really unpopular movies and shows.
Yeah.
And
but no,
ones.
Not many other people, probably.
Mm-hmm. Maybe she's just a hipster. Okay, that's enough about Kayla.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it either. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, I only am making you watch it because I want you to share in my misery.
So basically. Rude.
I know.
I just want to share good shows with you.
Well, we'll see if we change that.
Yeah, that might change eventually.
Not every show can be good. And not every show can be a show that both of us like.
Alright, so I don't think I'll ever watch this show again.
But we're definitely gonna go look up spoilers right after this ends.
Yeah.
Definitely. Just because, like, we don't like it enough to keep watching it, but we want to know if our assumptions are off base.
Yeah, we're both people who don't like open mysteries and just abandoning them.
So with that said, I'm going to wrap up the podcast. Thank you everybody for listening. Next week, we're going to try the show Q Rangers, which, if you don't know, is a part of the Super Sentai series, which is the Japanese version of Power Rangers. We'll get more into that next week.
We're staying live action, but we're jumping way far away to an obscure foreign television show.
Yeah, we're definitely switching it up next week, so we'll see you then.
Something for a much younger audience.
Bye.